All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us for one of our OACAC virtual webinars this afternoon. I just wanted to run through, of course, a few housekeeping items as we get started. So if you can, of course, just draw your attention to the slide up on the screen. First and foremost, welcome officially to the Virtual College Exploration for all Ohio students, sponsored by the Ohio Association for College Admissions Counseling and StriveScan. Few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You all can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions out to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists can't see or hear you. This is just one of the many different sessions happening, of course, all throughout not only this week, but continuing on throughout the fall as well. So be sure to check out the full schedule of all of the offerings at oacac.org. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at that same site of oacac.org. I would now like to turn it over to our presenters. I will kick things over to Sarah with the University of Evansville. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my PowerPoint, which I feel like everyone says whenever they go to share their screen, right? Okay, perfect. Got it pulled up. So I'm going to give a quick overview of today. So thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sarah Stipp, and I am the admission counselor for Ohio students. So any questions that you have, please feel free to reach out. But we have Heather Cook in the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and Heather is going to help behind the scenes answer some of those. I also have Dr. Maggie Stevenson with me, an associate professor of psychology. So after I do a quick overview of UE and go over some fast facts, we'll throw it to her. So if you have any questions that you've been dying to ask a faculty member, please get those ready. And then I also have Ellie with me as well. She is a current UE student. So if you have any questions that you wanted to ask a current college student, get those ready too. So before I throw it to them, let's do a quick overview of the University of Evansville. UE is located in Southwest Indiana, and we have about 2,400 students on campus. The student to faculty ratio is 12:1, which means you're going to have small class sizes. Average class size is 18 students, which I don't know about y'all, but that's smaller than every high school class I ever had. We also offer a lot of internship and study abroad opportunities for our students that I'll touch on in a little bit. And then fun fact about UE, we are one of the smallest Division I schools, and we offer 17 athletic teams. So if you're looking for a small campus that still has big time athletics, looks like we'll be the right fit. So we offer over 80 different areas of study and majors, and this probably isn't the best graphic to show it, but go follow us on social media. On Instagram, we're UE Admission, and we are featuring faculty members every Friday and majors every Monday, so you can learn more about our faculty members as well as the programs that we offer. We also have direct entry opportunities for physical therapy. So if you're looking for a 3+3 or a 4+3 physical therapy program, we have that. We also have a direct entry physician assistant program, as well as direct entry athletic training and direct entry nursing. So a lot of direct entry opportunities. So if you're interested in those, we can touch on those program requirements here in a little bit. But we have everything from biology, logistics and supply chain management, psychology, theater, statistics, public health, so a wide array of majors and areas of study. So I did mention a study abroad opportunity. This is Harlaxton College. This is our study abroad site located in Grantham, England. Every student at the University of Evansville can study abroad if they would like. Most students study abroad sophomore year, and they take a couple general education classes while they're there. We offer a couple programs. We have a semester-long program, so if you want to go travel for a semester, most students visit. I think the average is like 10 to 15 countries while they're there, so it's a lot of fun. Or if you've completed a lot of your general education requirements and maybe you're interested in global business, or you're getting a minor in Spanish or German and you want to go have an internship in a different country, we can help arrange that too. That's something that we're just starting to offer. And for the fall of 2021, we are offering a gap year program. So if you're interested in maybe traveling right after high school, maybe you're not entirely sure what you want to do, but you want to travel, we have that gap year option for you. And if a summer or if a semester or a year are just too long for you, we do have a 5-week summer program. So you can still take a class and travel over at Harlexton. And what's really unique about Harlexton College is that all of your merit-based scholarships and any financial aid that you would receive through the University of Evansville also applies to Harlexton. So it can cost roughly the same amount as if you were taking classes here at UE. Let's talk a little about on-campus life before I pass it over to my co-presenters. For residence life, we do have a 2-year live-on requirement, so our freshmen and sophomores do live on campus. We do have residence halls as well as townhouses and apartments for our upperclassmen. And there's actually a picture on the screen of what a residence hall would look like, but we are able to offer in-person visits right now. So if you want to come on campus and meet with a faculty member in person and see a residence hall in person, we can offer that now. And I love talking about the dining options on campus. I'm a big foodie, so I love this part of my presentation. Cafe Court is our main dining hall on campus. We have 8 self-serve stations ranging anywhere from, there's a flat top grill. They always switch up what they're making there. There's always pizza, pasta. There's like a Subway station. There's a pretty extensive salad bar. Soups are offered every day, and I cannot give a presentation without mentioning the dessert station because that's my favorite. I'm also a big coffee drinker, so if you're a big coffee person, we have Rodemaker's Cafe, and they serve Starbucks on campus. And probably the most popular spot would be the Chick-fil-A. It's pretty popular with our students. We also have Ace's Place and Cook Market, and those are grab-and-go locations for our students. You can also use your Ace Bucks on campus, and that's like on-campus cash, so you don't have to worry about carrying around a wallet or cash with you. Talking a little bit about student organizations, we have 130 different student organizations. They range anywhere from community service opportunities, leadership development, roughly 25% of our student bodies involved in Greek life, and we also have intramurals, which should be starting up here any day now. And then again, with our athletics, any student can attend athletic events for free. There's no need to buy an additional athletics pass or student tickets. You can get into all of our athletic events for free with your student ID. And just some student resources, and I'll have Dr. Stevenson and Ellie kind of maybe go over some of the resources that they're familiar with or that they offer to, or that they recommend to students. But our Center for Career Development adopts an end-to-end approach, which means they'll start working with high school students now. So if you want to take a personality assessment test, or maybe you're interested in careers that are out there, or maybe a career that you didn't know about, you can take some of those assessments with them now to kind of get a good idea. And then say you come to UE and you graduate and you get a job, say you're looking at asking for a promotion or wanting to negotiate a higher salary, or maybe you want to move somewhere different. You can always go back to our Center for Career Development to get help with interview skills, have someone look over your resume. So wherever you end up in life and in your career, you can always come back for help from the Center of Career Development. We also have academic advising, the writing center, peer tutoring, academic coaching, and the math lab. What that means, it's hard to slip through the cracks here at UE. So whatever help you need academically, we have a lot of support for you on campus. We also have counseling services, disability support services, and the Center for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Some fun things that happen around Evansville. Fall Festival, which is about 8 minutes from campus, is one of the world's largest street festivals in the world. So that's a lot of fun. There's also an ice skating rink that is 4 minutes from campus. The mall is only 10 minutes from campus, and the zoo is 12 minutes from campus. So there are plenty to do on weekends. And with the mall being so close to campus, that means I can shop during my lunch hour, which can be kind of dangerous, of shopping during lunch and then making it back to campus. But now we've done a quick overview of the University of Evansville. I'd love to throw it to Dr. Stevenson. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, Associate Professor of Psychology, and I'll throw it to you to kind of talk about why UE.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Hello. I thought I'd introduce myself a little bit. So it's fitting that I'm talking to a group of folks from Ohio. And that's because I'm from Ohio. I grew up in Coshocton, Ohio, which is really rural part of Ohio. Went to Riverview High School there and attended Ohio State University before pursuing my PhD in psychology at the University of Illinois at Chicago in social psychology. And I have been here at the University of Evansville ever since then. So I started working here in 2008 and have been loving it ever since. So I want to touch upon a couple of things and perhaps reiterate a few things that Sarah shared with you. Now is a time for you uniquely of a lot of questions. What kind of school do you want to go to? That's a big life-changing decision that you're about ready to make. And so I'm hopeful that I'll be able to share some information with you that'll help inform that big decision. And it's an exciting time. You're about to experience things that are things you'll probably only experience at this point in your life, at this time in your life. And it can really sort of shape the trajectory for your future. So why consider the University of Evansville? Well, one thing Sarah already mentioned was the size of our university, it being sort of a smaller, more liberal arts focused type of institution. A means that not only are your classes generally going to be smaller, the average class size is about 18, but that also means you get that personal attention from your faculty. So you really do end up getting to know your faculty in a way that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. Speaking as someone who has attended larger state institutions, Ohio State is one of the biggest institutions that exists. Indiana State University, also very large, or not that I went there, but it's a very big one as well. One of the differences is the class sizes, right? I remember being one of 500 plus students in a lecture hall. And that was not uncommon. That was many classes that I took. Another unique thing is that those interactions that you have with faculty members are going to be faculty members who all have PhDs in their discipline who you're going to get to know. And that's because it's really just full-time faculty who are teaching predominantly your courses rather than what you might find at larger institutions, which would be graduate students doing a lot of teaching. When I was a graduate student at University of Illinois at Chicago, I did a lot of teaching as a graduate student. And that's not to say that's a bad thing. I think plenty of them can do a great job. I think I did okay. But that is a difference. That's not going to be your experience here at UE. You're only going to be taught by those faculty who have those credentials and that experience. And you'll be able to work with them directly and they'll get to know you. That's, I think, a big strength of the University of Evansville is those interactions with faculty. It's, we notice when you didn't show up in class and we follow up with you. In fact, when I first got here, I was impressed with the systems we have in place to keep tabs on our students and how they're doing and put them in touch with the resources they need to really facilitate their success and to get them what they need. We had, and we still have, and which was, I think, pretty cutting edge at the time when I began working here, a system to sort of put an early alert out on a student if they're like, maybe they're just missing class, maybe they're struggling in some way, and we put this system out, this little alert out for that student to get them in touch with their advisor, make sure that they're getting the help that they need, whatever that might mean. That is novel. There were other institutions who actually wanted to get that from us, but only to use it for a small portion of their student body, maybe just the student athletes, for instance. And we're like, actually, we think you should use it for everyone because we think all students deserve that kind of one-on-one special attention. So I'm really proud of UE for providing that to our students. That's what I love most about my job is working with the students who are just amazing people. So like I said, you do get to know your faculty over your time here. One way we make sure that happens is that you are placed with a faculty advisor who serves and provides you guidance over your 4 years here. So you're not just meeting with that faculty member to plan the classes that you're going to take next semester just to make sure you graduate on time. That's part of it, but what you're also doing during those meetings is getting to know one another. And in particular, my goal is to figure out what are your interests? What do you want to do with the rest of your life? And how do I facilitate that, right? How do I put you in touch with what we have to offer here at UE, whether that is in career services, which is amazing. Career services has frankly gone above and beyond what I think many of these types of programs do at a lot of institutions. They got my own husband a job when I started working here. We really care about the university and about the students, and they'll work with you and they'll point you in directions of jobs, quite frankly. But we'll make sure that you're on track with the kind of coursework, the kind of things you ought to be doing to get where you want to end up going, whether that's in graduate school, whether that's direct entry into a career path. So taking advantage of those relationships with those faculty members, I think is key. And I think you see evidence of the effectiveness of building those relationships with faculty in our high retention rates. I think that's a huge strength of our university. You know, when I was an undergraduate, I remember during a freshman orientation, they said, look to the right. That's how many of you won't graduate from this university. And I remember thinking, wow, I mean, we're talking 50% retention rate. Oh, that's awful. I'm really proud of the University of Evansville with their retention rate of about 86%. That's higher than a lot of institutions. And I think a lot of that has to do with the personal attention we're able to give our students and the relationships we can form with them, and the opportunities that exist for them. There are many. For instance, undergraduates here at UE can get involved in research in a professor's lab, and they can also conduct their own independently conceived research projects. Often with grant funding, we offer undergraduates funding for these types of projects, which is just so key if your goal is to go pursue graduate school. You know, having that kind of experience will facilitate your success in a graduate program, but quite frankly, it'll also make you competitive for entry into a graduate program, which is what we also want. It'll also help you land a job. You know, I've had students who worked as my research assistants in my own lab who maybe didn't want to go into graduate school. Well, the skills that they gained in my lab, conducting data analysis, collecting data, position them for plenty of jobs in the private sector, working on exactly that, data analysis for private institutions or firms. And so successful careers right out of the door if the goal isn't graduate school as well. Internships are also an opportunity to either get a foot in the door at a job that you might like to do one day, or B, get that experience that'll make you more competitive for similar related jobs or for graduate programs. They also can just offer you some insight into your goals, your own goals. You know, you could test something out at this internship and see, do you really want to spend the rest of your life doing that? You know, now during college is a good time to sort of answer some of those questions. A little bit of self-discovery, I think, can go a long way to facilitating a really meaningful career once you leave here. I had, for instance, an undergraduate who worked, who was a psychology and a criminal justice major, double major, and she interned with the police and said it was a fascinating experience. She got to observe literally what we were learning about in the classroom, from arrests to interrogations, and found it incredibly eye-opening. They also loved her and wanted to recruit her, but she decided to pursue a PhD in psychology, and she did. And she is now chairing the forensic psychology major at St. Rose University out in Albany. So really proud of her, and she seems to be loving what she's doing. I'll also add, before maybe I'll turn it over to Ellie in case she wants to add some of her own experiences, that UE has quite a history of excellence. You know, if you pop onto our website, and especially if you pop in and out of different programs on campus, you'll see we have quite a lot of national accolades with respect to program quality. I'm really pretty proud of that. In psychology, for instance, our students traditionally score in well above, in fact, the 90th percentile on the test that we have. All psychology majors sort of nationally take. It's called the psychology major field test, and our students are typically scoring usually at the 95th percentile or above. This is compared to students at other institutions who are psychology majors. So we think that is a marker of the quality of the education that students are receiving, and that is just one example of many. I'll also just add, before I turn it over to Ellie, that Harlaxton is just no words. I know. No, I have plenty of words, quite frankly. When I was interviewing for this job, I had sort of a jaw-dropping moment when I realized, excuse me, UE owns a manor in Britain. Oh, also that's our second campus. Oh, also faculty can go live there and teach for a semester. Okay. All right. So I just did that. In the fall of 2019, I brought my husband and my 3 small children with me, and we lived in a British manor for a semester. My children attended the local village school, and I taught students from the University of Evansville and students from a couple other institutions as well. This is what probably makes us ranked #1 nationally for study abroad programs. It is an amazing, amazing opportunity to get to experience a different culture and to travel. You know, once you're in Europe, you can just so easily, I took my family to Paris and to Wales. I can't even imagine another opportunity in which that would remotely be feasible. But it is a life, you know, students overwhelmingly describe this as a life-changing experience. I will say too, Harlaxton in and of itself is a destination. It is unbelievable. It's breathtakingly beautiful inside and out. If you just went there, that would be plenty, right? But students also use this as an opportunity to travel all over the country, or not internationally, outside of the country as well. So absolutely take advantage of that. The reason why it really sort of makes UE distinct is because we own it. And so we're not charging you additional tuition to go study abroad someplace. You know, like Sarah said, your financial aid, your loans, your system, all of that applies when you go there. It's so you just, you know, scrounge up some extra cash for your airfare and, you know, your health fees or whatever, and you can live in Europe for a semester. And I highly recommend it. It is absolutely a life-changing experience, and it makes study abroad so much more feasible and affordable for students than it otherwise would be. You know, when I was an undergraduate, I double majored in psychology and French, and I had to save up some cash to study abroad in France. And so it's really exciting to me that here at UE, this is such a more affordable experience for a lot of students. In terms of experience that you can expect to happen here at UE, you all can expect to take a certain sort of grouping of general education courses, but you get to have liberty. You have choices among the types of courses you can choose to take. So what this means is if you decide to change majors along the way, you're not necessarily going to be set back. It also means that if you want to start undecided, you know, I actually started undecided and I graduated in 4 years with 2 separate degrees, not just 2 separate majors, 2 separate degrees. These kinds of things are possible. We often have students who do things like double major. I have students who triple major and still graduate in 4 years. And that's because we can work with you to figure out how to make that happen. You have these free electives that can be sort of used strategically to stick in that additional major. I see now it is 3:25. Did you want to add anything, Ellie, or maybe I don't want to hog the whole time here.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit just so they get a student's perspective. So I'm a business management major here at the University of Evansville. I'm from a small town about 3 hours away. And here at the university, I am involved with different organizations like admissions ambassadors, the Leadership Academy, and Delta Sigma Pi, which is a business fraternity. So I relate to the situation. My situation was a little bit different when I was on my college search. Everything wasn't virtual, but I am a sophomore. So just a couple of years ago, I was in your position. And when I went on my college search, I pretty much wrote down a list of what I wanted my college to have. So the top of my list was I wanted to be small class sizes, small campus. I wanted the main focus to be academics. And then I also wanted it to have a lot of opportunities, whether that be resources or internships or job opportunities when I graduated. And as I was on my tour at the University of Evansville, I was just slowly checking off everything. I mean, it was the whole package for what I wanted. And so what I love about the University of Evansville, I'll talk about, which is kind of like a summary of what we've already talked about, but are the resources available? So the Career Center, I've had a lot of contact with this year as I'm applying for internships and writing my resume, and they've just been so helpful with just trying to get me to know me on a personal level, to that point where they can help me write a resume and network with me and stuff like that. And then another thing that I love is that it's a very known school and it's very credible. I know that when I go into an interview and they see that I'm a graduate of the University of Evansville, they're going to recognize it as a very credible school, especially as a business major. So that's something I'm really proud of. And then one thing I just want to share kind of as a student's perspective is when I came in my freshman year, I was so nervous about being in a college class and being with professors who I thought were there to just make us fail the class. But here at the University of Evansville, it's so different than what I had in mind. I know all my professors. I go and talk to them at office hours just for fun. My advisor is more like a mentor than just someone who helps me plan my schedule. And they all know me on a personal level, and I just appreciate that so much. And I think that's just one of the main reasons why I love the university so much. So I want to save some time for questions, so I won't go into any more, but that's just kind of a summary of my experience at UE so far.
Well, thank you so much to Dr. Stevenson and for Ellie for sharing your perspectives. And you were definitely listing off a lot of the reasons why I love my job, why I love working with prospective students, and why I love the University of Evansville. But before we get to questions, I want to quickly go over the admission requirements for some of our students who may be looking at applying at UE. If I can find my mouse on my screen, there we go. So there are two ways that you can apply to the University of Evansville. The first way is what we call the traditional pathway, and that is with your test scores. And I'll talk about our test optional policy on the next slide. But we'll need your UE application, and our application is free, and we also accept the Common App. So if you're a senior and you're starting on applications, if you want to click the University of Evansville on the Common App, or you can go on our website and fill out an application. Along with your application, we'll also need your high school transcripts. So however you can get those sent over to us. We'll also need your official ACT or ACT scores. We also super score, which means we'll take each subcategory and combine the highest subcategories to the highest overall composite score. And then an essay is not required. However, it is highly recommended. We love getting to learn more about our students, what you're interested in, maybe something you want to do in college, maybe talk about those lifelong dreams, careers, and that also really helps us connect you to on-campus organizations and with faculty members. Next, we know that you might not have been able to take an ACT or an SAT yet, and that's okay. The University of Evansville is test optional, and we have been for about 4 or 5 years now, so it hasn't been in response to COVID-19. We think that this is a good opportunity for students who think maybe their test scores don't reflect themselves the best. So we've always had a test optional policy. For our test optional pathway, we'll also need your application, your high school transcripts, and then this is where the essay is required. So we have a couple prompts on our website, but whatever you feel passionate about writing about, you can go ahead and write an essay for that. So if you have any questions about those specific application questions or pathways, go ahead and put them in the chat and Heather will be able to help you out. Now for the traditional pathway, some of our direct entry programs, an essay is required. So make sure that when you are looking at the programs that you're interested in, and this goes for any institution that you're looking at, make sure that you make note if an essay is required or not. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about some important dates. So if you're a senior, our application is open. So your first step after this is to apply to the University of Evansville. If you're a junior or an underclassman, know that our application opens up August 1st every year. So as you're starting to look at different institutions, start making a list of when all the applications open. October 1 is when FAFSA filing begins and our code is on there. So that will be here before we know it. I didn't realize we're at the end of September, but make sure that you talk with your parents or your guardians or whomever will help you file that. And then February 1 is the last day to submit new information. So if you have taken a test, maybe you're signed up for an October or a November test date, but you've already applied, you can go ahead and send us those updated test scores all the way through February 1. And that also goes for your high school transcripts. If you didn't have a great spring semester of your junior year, that's okay. If you do really well this semester and your GPA increases, we will review that through February 1 for consideration and a potential increase in scholarship, which I also have our scholarship grid on here as well, so you can kind of get an idea. And then May 1 is college decision day, and we hope that you have made your college decision before May 1. That just kind of gives you a rough deadline to shoot for. We'll talk a little bit about tuition and financial aid, and I really want to talk about scholarships. So this is the average price for 2020, 2021. So this is what our incoming freshmen are paying. Do know that when looking at a private school, the sticker cost can be a little shocking, but know that no one pays the sticker price. So let me go ahead and pull over to the university scholarships. So every admitted student at the University of Evansville does receive a scholarship. And if you don't see yourself on this grid, please still apply and we'll see what you can qualify for. We just can't put every option on a slide, otherwise it would be the whole slideshow of going through every option. But you'll see if you apply test optional, we'll look at your high school GPA, or we'll look at your ACT score if you supply those, or your SAT score. So hopefully this gives you a rough idea of what to expect. And you'll receive your scholarship shortly after you'll receive your acceptance package. And this year, we're sending out acceptance boxes that include a mask to keep you safe, a pair of headphones in case you're taking online classes, and a flag to show some UE pride, especially on Purple Fridays. So if you want to put that out in your yard, just to show that you've been admitted to the University of Evansville. Next, we've already kind of touched on some of the outcomes, but something I want to share, 96% of the class of 2019 were employed or in graduate school within 6 months. What that means for you is that we want to see our students succeed. We want to make sure that you're graduating with a good job, and we don't want you to take a 5th year to take on additional debt. We want to make sure that you're getting what you need to get done in 4 years and you're starting the career of your dreams. Also, a lot of parents usually like the statistics, so that's why I usually put out what the University of Evansville ranks, and Dr. Stevenson and Ellie kind of talked about just how notable the University of Evansville is. Recently, we actually we went up in rankings for the best regional university, so we are ranked number 4 by the U.S. News and World Report 2021 rankings. And we were also named to the Wall Street Journal, and this just came out last week, for top student engagement. We ranked 16th out of over 4,000 universities and colleges. So we're pretty proud of that. So our students are on campus and they're engaged. So a lot of parents usually like this page, so you can take a quick screenshot of it. And then before we wrap up and really get to questions, I want to talk about our visit opportunities. We are able to have individual on-campus visits right now. So you'll come in, we'll do a temperature check, masks will be worn, but you can meet with a faculty member from an area they might be interested in. So if you're interested in psychology, we can try to set up a time with Dr. Stevenson. Families love meeting with her over in Hyde Hall. So that way you can get a faculty point of view. We can also schedule lunch on campus, coffee time with a current student, and then you can also get an in-person campus tour. We also have virtual group visits. We're actually offering one tomorrow, which Dr. Stevenson, I believe, is also on again tomorrow, so you can join us then. But we're offering them throughout the year, so you can hop on and hear from a faculty member, an admission representative, and a current student. We're also doing virtual individual visits. So if you can't make it down to campus, that's okay. You still want to talk to a faculty member or a current student, we can arrange those via Zoom as well. We also have a virtual campus tour. So I think seeing campus really helps solidify your college decision. Not only do we have a virtual campus tour on our website, but we also were able to film a Facebook Live with her name's Kelsey, one of our students last year who just graduated. It was her last campus tour. So I'm glad that we were able to give her one last campus tour, but we filmed it Facebook Live and it's uploaded to YouTube. And we're also offering parent and family sessions this year. So you can hop online and see, I believe the next session is exploring the FAFSA. And then December, we're talking about how to navigate the college search process. And then the last one will be how to pay for college. So just some really good opportunities that are more geared towards parents and families or whomever is helping with your college search. There's our social media, but I want to throw up all of our contact information one last time if you want to grab a screenshot of this. And it looks like there's one question that I definitely want to get to before we run out of time. So Dr. Stevenson and Ellie, if you could give one piece of advice for students who are in the college search process right now, what would you tell them? So whomever wants to go first.
I'll go ahead and go first.
Okay.
My piece of advice would be to just think about what you want. I felt like all of my life I took everyone's considerations in, and my college decision was kind of my first real decision where I didn't care what anyone else wanted me to do. I knew what was right for me. So that would be my advice.
Thank you.
I think that's great advice, Ellie. I feel really fortunate that I had parents who were so supportive of me trying to figure out what it was that I wanted. I started out undecided and wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and they really just wanted me to do what I loved to do. And my problem is I loved too many things. But I really feel grateful for that. I think that's great advice to find what makes sense for you, what fits for you, and to study what you find most you feel most passionately about. I feel like that set me on a track for a career that I find incredibly fulfilling and very fortunate to have gotten.
Great. Thank you for sharing. It's really important for the students in the college search process to hear. One question, we have time for one more question before we wrap up, and either of you can answer this. What is one of your favorite memories on campus? It can be either at UW or at Harlexton.
Good question. That's a tough one. I have so many. I think my favorite memories are always tied with my student accomplishments, quite frankly. You know, that reflected glory I get to experience when they go on to succeed is incredibly rewarding. And I've seen that happen so many times. My students who join my research lab and conduct eventually their own independently conceived research, I take them with me and we present this at professional conferences nationally and even internationally. And that's a proud academic mama moment for me to be in the audience watching them present their own research is huge.
Thank you. Ellie, can you think of one?
Mine would just be road trip. I think it was such a unique opportunity, and living on campus as a high school student, that was probably my favorite part.
Yeah. One more academic question for you, Dr. Stevenson. For students who are interested in multiple things, you did mention students double majoring and triple majoring. If they aren't sure what they want to do and maybe they're interested in a whole lot, what is kind of your advice as they, transition into college? Should they pick a major? Should they come in undecided? What's your advice on that?
If you already feel strongly about majoring in something, there's nothing wrong with starting off with declared major. You absolutely don't have to. We actually offer, if you want to start out undecided, we even offer sort of a special kind of class-ish kind of experience where you can kind of explore where your interests are and kind of point you into that right direction. Honestly, I think that part of the best way to figure out what you want to major in is take some classes. Start taking some classes, and you will learn quickly what you love, what you find fascinating, what comes, it's not that it's easy to do, but that you love it so much that you can't help but, continue to study it, that kind of thing. And then that might be the answer. That was kind of how I fell into both psychology and French, which have very little to do with one another, but which I loved, and ended up just with two degrees in at the end of the day.
Great. Thank you. I know we get a lot of students who say they're interested in a lot of different things. So it's a great piece of advice. Just take some classes. Well, it looks like we're wrapping up and we have made it through all of our questions. So I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Sarah with StriveScan and OACAC. But thank you to everyone for joining us for these 41 minutes. And we'll leave a little bit of time for any extra questions that pop in the chat box. But thank you so much for taking the time out of both of y'all's busy schedules to chat, and I'm sure that they got a lot of good advice from both of you. So thank you so much, and I'll go ahead and wait if there's any last minute questions. Looks like Sarah has hopped back on. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. All right, great.
All right, well, thank you everyone, of course, for joining us. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback that you can provide. Also, this was just one of many sessions being hosted, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions at oacac.org. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recordings as well as all of our other sessions recordings, once again, at oacac.org. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks, everyone.